Hi, today I would like to give you a few tips and recommendations related to career planning in the field of material science and engineering. As you know, career plans are not so easy to make, and reality is often quite different from what we had planned. And some of the underlying rules in our field are often a little bit hard to find and decipher. And our job market is a bit special. But from successful candidates, we have learned that the most efficient rules are to thrive towards excellence. Rule number 2, excellence. Rule number 3 is also excellence. So when you have a very good portfolio, it is for sure the best pathway towards a career. Another one is for sure creativity and generating your own generic scientific footprint to develop something that in business is often called a unique selling point. And we get back to this. And this often involves taking higher risks in your corresponding scientific projects. It also involves to not just write papers, but try to write really excellent, outstanding papers and go that extra mile that it takes to write such papers. And you must always be your worst case reviewer because, we look at our papers with a loving eye of the writer, but that's not helping. So you must be critical with your own writing. You must try to initiate new scientific directions, maybe in the form of a mini project or something like that, and jump beyond the footsteps of others and try to make your own footsteps. There are a couple of further skills that you need on the in the social context, like leadership skills, team quality, social skills in general, and so on. And there is a large number of things that, as we say, require zero talent, like being on time, doing the extra mile, being passionate about things, having a positive, attitude, and so on. But please do not forget that you should not overload yourself with too high self-expectations and so on. So practical advice, always go the extra mile in science. Grow as a scientist. Do not expect others to always take the lead. Take responsibility for your own career. Write good papers. Try to listen to top speakers and try to copy the best tools from them. Work on your language, communication skills, and so on. Also, when you're a theoretician, it is always interesting to try to look what experimentalists are doing to have a better understanding of how you can thrive in this area too, and vice versa. If you are primarily an experimentalist, it can be extremely helpful to learn from good theoreticians and equip your experimental work with a theoretical backbone. There are many other things like developing a predator instincts for hot topics and findings, good collabs, and find the gold mines. And as a postdoc, you also want to work on just more than one topic and, develop a few new topics and so on. Also on teaching, you must start to train that, try to team up with senior colleagues and help them in teaching. Also, you need to advertise your stuff mainly on web activities like websites, like ResearchGate, LinkedIn, things like that. But also be realistic and, do your things stepwise and set clear milestones that can be reached. Also, you should always contemplate about what kind of career do you not want. I think that is often more important than always deciding what you want. Another aspect is find your free time for thinking, for strategic and science deep thinking without any distractions. When you put your application papers together, make sure you have a concise motivation letter that is specific to the opening. And your CV should, of course, focus on the scientific highlights and so on. Add your publication list, your 5 best papers, things like that. Also, you should emphasize in your application papers your experience with things like leadership skills, industry collaboration, supervision and teaching, online visibility, and things like that. Also, you should bring along something like a vision and concept paper. And that is very important when you sit before a recruitment committee, that you are very, very well prepared. So take a look at what these committee members are doing themselves. Also, you should be skilled in writing proposals and should, share your success stories. And on that slide, I just have a couple of different proposal schemes, but of course, those are varying depending on the region and country where you are making your career. That includes also industry funding, which is often not so easy to come by. But if you have success stories in this field, make sure to mention it in your application papers. So when you look for academic openings, use the usual social media and so on, and be sure that sometimes you are being interviewed even when you do not really know it. Then, committees are screening the application with how close they are to the opening. They read the support letters, look at your papers and publication list and things like that. And then they go through a rough screening and ranking and classification of the different candidates that have applied. So what you should do meanwhile, when you get into the inner circle of applicants for a position, get background information about the position, about the lab, about the quality, investments, and things like that. And prepare for the interview process, with a scientific lecture, with teaching examples and things like that. And when you get into the last round, there's a certain ranking that is made, and then you will find out where you are being placed. What is important, I think, generally to find your sweet spot between your biggest skills, the high level in science and society, the funding that you have, and the right lab environment where you are. I think that is very important for generally planning your career in such a field. So as an epilogue, I would say, we are pretty privileged in our field. It's a very free and nice field to work on. We have relatively safe metrics for our success, and we should not be afraid to make mistakes, and don't be too shy and do not hide yourself. And you must manage your career a little bit proactive-wise. And don't forget the fun part. Thank you very much for your kind attention.